What's going on, guys? Welcome to Ajax Reviews. Today we review The Graveyard. Directed by Michael Feifer. 7 friends reunite at a graveyard to honor the memory of their fallen friend. So, here's an interesting story to go along with this review. You remember in one of my recent reviews for Bloody Murder 2, I sat there and I said, I would have really liked to have seen a third movie in this franchise. Boy can dream, right? Well, here's something interesting that happened. Soon after that was posted, I got a comment from a guy named Dragonfrost, who is a subscriber to the channel. And he said, hey, there is a part 3 to Bloody Murder. I'm like, what the fuck? No, there isn't. He's like, yeah, there is. And he's like, this is what it's called. So I went to IMDb, and sure as fuck, in the trivia section, it says that this movie was supposed to be the official sequel to Bloody Murder 2. However, the research that I did found that last minute they changed the name and decided to not make it a sequel to Bloody Murder, but to make it sort of a spin-off. It takes place at Camp Placid Pines, and that's the only similarity. So I went into this hoping that it was a Bloody Murder sequel, while knowing technically it wasn't. But here's what I thought of it anyway. And also shout out to Dragonfrost for showing me this.
Placid Pines Cemetery residents, please forgive us for what we are about to do here.
So, there are instances where you have to be careful what you wish for. Because sometimes you might get it, and it may not be everything you hoped it would be. So as I said before, this movie is technically supposed to be the sequel to Bloody Murder 3. Although it really isn't, it's more of a spin-off. There were no throwbacks to the original movie or the sequel, part 2. There was no mention of Trevor Morehouse. There was the only thing, like I said, that was similar or a throwback from the first movie was the name of the camp. And they also had that same name for a cemetery. Placid Pines Cemetery. So, I mean, that's the only similarities that happened between Bloody Murder 1 and 2 and The Graveyard. So as just another horror movie, this movie wasn't bad. Pretty fucking cliche, but not bad. What killed it for me is that technically it was Bloody Murder 3. If you remember, in the first 2 movies, they played a game called Bloody Murder, hence the title of the movie. In this movie, they played a game called Run for Your Life, which is pretty much the same fucking game, they just called it something else. Why? So, watching this movie, it was pretty evident from the beginning who the killer was and what his motives were. The acting was kind of subpar. The guy who played the killer was fucking terrible. It's literally like he was reading lines or somebody was feeding him lines and he was just saying words. I don't think he even knew what the fuck he was saying half the time. And the story was pretty unmotivated. It just seemed lazy. Again, as a standalone movie, it wasn't awful, and I will be adding it to my collection. But here's the but, and it's a big but. I will not be associating it with my other Bloody Murder movies. It won't be anywhere near it in the case. I'm not gonna rebrand the cover and put Bloody Murder 3. I mean, there's no point. It's kind of weird and funny at the same time that I'm sitting here saying that I won't associate this movie with Bloody Murder 1 and 2, which Bloody Murder 1 and 2 were not the greatest movies ever. To me, they were enjoyable because they were nostalgia-driven. This movie doesn't really have that nostalgia, and it just kind of doesn't fit in with them. If you're going to have a movie that is a sequel or spin-off, have it similar. They tried to make it similar, but they didn't. It's really weird.
Hey man, you're drooling. Do you need a doctor, buddy? Or Band-Aid?
So what did I like about this movie? The girls were fun to look at. Some of the effects were okay, Mainly the scene where it showed Jack's head that it had been severed and then the body parts scattered around the room. Those were pretty cool. And Veronica was hot. So then what did I dislike about this movie? The acting was fucking terrible. Another thing I didn't like about this movie was the mask. I mean, they changed it again. And this time, it's like they didn't put any work into the costume at all. It's like, let's throw some coveralls on them with a hood and throw this mask that, like, I mean, part 2 had like a dollar store mask and it was all white, but at least it kind of fit what they were doing. This was just fucking stupid. I mean, the kills were pretty lazy other than, showing Jack's head in the window. Everything else was pretty lazy and just, They also attempted way too many storylines. They had a storyline with this, a storyline with that. This person was in love with that person, but they didn't tell us that this person was in love with that person. And just, what? What are you trying to do? What are you trying to accomplish here? And the last thing I really didn't like is that this movie didn't really feel like a bloody murder movie or even a spinoff. There was no mention of Trevor Morehouse, which was the driving force of the first two, because Trevor Morehouse was the legend and you never really see him until the very end where he actually gets his kill. There wasn't even mention of him in this movie. So, would I recommend this movie? I feel like I'm being put on the spot here. I'm kind of doing it to myself. I do reviews. So I'm going to say yes, but you got to go into this movie not thinking it's a bloody murder movie. You have to look at it as its own thing or it's going to ruin it for you. Because you're going to immediately, if you like any of the other bloody murder movies, you're going to associate it with that. And it just doesn't work. And with that being said, I'm going to give this movie a 2 out of 5. And that's going to do it for me for today, guys. So until next time, remember, stay smart, stay clean, keep the dream. Don't let the man get you down, because if he does, he may make you play a game of Run for Your Life, only to ruin what could have been an awesome sequel and franchise. But rest in peace, Trevor Morehouse and Bloody Murder.